Hi, if you're a Mormon in a mixed faith marriage due to a faith transition, then this little training video is specifically for you. I'm going to share with you 3 things to stop doing in your mixed faith marriage so you can have a great relationship with your spouse. Now, these 3 things are things I have learned from my own mixed faith marriage and things that my clients, countless of them, have implemented and found successful for their own mixed faith marriage as well. So I'm going to share these 3 things with you because they're so simple, and also because there's something you can do on your own without your spouse needing to be involved, needing to change, needing to understand them, or wanting to participate as well. It's great if they do, it's just not necessary. Okay, let's get started on the 3 things. Let me share my screen so we can start. Okay, 3 simple things stopping you from a great LDS, Mormon, whatever you want to say, mixed faith marriage. And I'll talk a little bit more about my use of the word Mormon in a minute, but let me introduce myself very briefly. My name is Brooke Booth. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm in a mixed faith marriage. I have been since about 2017 when I had my own faith transition. You can see here is my family. The mixed faith marriage, the faith transition, not fun, very, very challenging. And the 3 things I want to share with you, I have learned in the trenches. These are things I've learned on a personal and professional level that can help you really be light years ahead in the progress of your marriage than I was at the time of my faith transition. I'm trained as an attorney and I worked as a litigator for many years. Now I'm a full-time life coach. I have these 4 kids. I was raised LDS. I did all the things LDS, BYU mission, temple marriage. My husband was bishop forever, seminary teacher, all of the things I did. And I want to talk to you just briefly before we dive in about how I use the term Mormon. I use it because it's my vernacular. I realize not everybody's comfortable with that. I'll try to use LDS. I'm also just as comfortable saying that, but it is the term that my tongue is most comfortable with. And I mean no disrespect when I use that. Okay, let's talk the 3 things to stop doing. Number 1, stop saying a mixed faith marriage is hard, not ideal, and a less than marriage. And let me tell you why. And believe it or not, it has to do with catch up. I want to teach you something important here. If you believe your mixed faith marriage is hard, not ideal, and a less than marriage, that is exactly what you're going to create. And here's why. It's a part of how our brain works. We're bombarded on a daily basis with hundreds of thousands of data points a day, and our brain sifts and sorts through them. And it uses this part of our brain called the RAS, or reticular activating system, to do this. And that system has many default functions, one of which is to sort through all the data and pick out the things that support our current belief system. So if you're in a mixed faith marriage, it's going to sort through all the stories and data and everything that you've experienced, and it's going to find the evidence to support your belief system. If your belief system is that a mixed faith marriage is hard, not ideal, or less than, you are only going to be presented with evidence to support that. It's going to be very discouraging. If you want to create a great mixed faith marriage, you're literally going to have to prove yourself wrong. Now, what does this have to do with catch-up? I call this the catch-up paradox. I do not know how many times in my marriage my husband has gone to the fridge believing we were out of catch-up. I don't know why this is his default belief system, but believing we are out of catch-up, opens up the refrigerator door and tells me, we're out of ketchup. Brooke, can you put it on the grocery list? And I go to him, look in the refrigerator, and there it is, top shelf, center position, the jar of ketchup. Okay, this is part of how our brain works. He believed there was no ketchup. He could see no ketchup, even though it was there. We do this with our own marriages. If you tell your brain your marriage is a problem, if that's your belief system, it's going to be hard and rough. Your brain will prove you right. Your brain will show you all the reasons why your marriage should be difficult or challenging. Otherwise, like I said earlier, you have to prove yourself wrong. Your brain will find evidence why your mixed faith marriage is hard, challenging, and completely ignore the good points, just like my husband could not see and ignored the ketchup in the fridge. So this is what I would suggest. Start cultivating, start working on the idea that your mixed faith marriage can be fun, can be wonderful, can be nice, can be okay, can be agreeable. You need to start teaching your brain a new way, a new belief system to look at your mixed faith marriage so it can start to find evidence to support you to create the kind of relationship you truly do want. Okay, second, stop saying it's my fault or I should have done more. Let me talk to you about this one. Usually the person who's had the faith transition says it's my fault, and usually it's the spouse who still is active in believing that says I should have done more. Like you might have seen that distinction yourself. Now, the problem I have with these phrases, they create emotional dependence. When I say emotional dependence, I mean that your emotional well-being is now dependent on somebody else, or their emotional well-being is dependent on you. Now, a fancy word for this is codependency. Problem I have with phrases like this, because it creates codependency, is that opens the door to manipulation and control. And I know you do not like manipulation and control, but that's truly what's happening when we believe phrases like this. It's my fault, or I should have done more. It puts us in a position where now we think we need to be controlling our spouse in order to feel better. When we try to manage our spouse's thoughts and our spouse's emotions about their faith transition or about church or about the marriage, you're sending them a message that they're not capable of managing it themselves, that they can't handle that themselves, and that their own decision making and their own management of their emotions is insufficient. So these phrases are really interesting. Like, it's my fault or I should have done more. One, it opens the door to manipulation and control. And two, it somewhat infantilizes our adult spouses who are more than capable of managing their own emotions. So you might want to consider some things if this is something you've said. You might want to consider, why is it a problem if my spouse feels quote unquote negative emotions? Why is it a problem if my spouse is sad or disappointed or hurt? When you live your life solely to avoid your spouse feeling certain emotions, that's going to be too big of a burden for you to carry. You will burn out, I promise. That will lead to you controlling and manipulating. That's just what happens. And that type of controlling behavior, that type of burnout, was only going to hurt your mixed faith marriage. Consider it's okay for your spouse to be sad or disappointed or angry or frustrated. Your spouse's emotions, just like your own, are not problems to be solved. Okay, next thing to stop saying. The kids will be confused. I hear this one a lot. And for many years, I believed it myself. Now, the catch-up paradox applies here as well. If it's your belief system that a mixed faith marriage is confusing for kids and that they will be confused, your brain is going to find evidence why they're confused. And it's going to ignore the evidence why they're thriving or doing really, really well. If your belief system is that your mixed faith marriage is going to cause suffering for your children, then that again is the evidence your brain is going to find. So I want you to ask different questions. I want you to ask questions like, how might this not be harming them? What might they be learning that could be really helpful? What could be the benefits of being in an LDS mixed faith marriage family? These are fundamentally different questions. I want to offer you one way of looking at this. It's just one way. There are many, so take it or leave it if this works for you. What if being in this LDS mixed faith marriage is a fantastic opportunity to teach your kids some really powerful things like love and acceptance? Mom and dad love and accept each other, even though we have faith differences. And that means our children are also loved and accepted in this marriage, even if you don't look just like us, make decisions just like us, think just like us. You can be who you are, and love and acceptance will be a gift we give you no matter what. That's a really powerful lesson a mixed faith marriage can teach a child, if you're willing to open up and see that as a possibility. Now, I'm not saying don't set boundaries or don't have rules. Please do all those really good things. But it's really interesting. You can create the underlying culture in your family to be one where everybody's loved and accepted. Now, this picture I love. This is a family picture we took maybe a little over a year ago. And everybody chose their own outfits. And if you notice, she was 11 years old at the time. She's 12 now. My 11-year-old daughter on the far end is wearing this fantastic hand skeleton silver thing. I don't even know what it's called. She was so excited. She said to me, "Mom, finally I have an opportunity to wear this. I've been wanting to wear it for so long." And she saw these family pictures. It's the perfect opportunity to showcase this piece of jewelry she's absolutely in love with. Great, right? I couldn't have been more pleased. But I guarantee old me wouldn't have been able to give her permission to show up as who she really was before I could learn these lessons that my kids didn't need to be confused in the mixed faith marriage. It could give them permission to stand more fully in who they are and be more fully who they are. So let's recap. Stop saying a mixed faith marriage is hard, not ideal, and a less than marriage. 2, stop saying it's my fault or I should have done more. And 3, stop saying the kids will be confused. So a lot of times the next question is, okay, I'll stop doing those things, but what can I do to create more connection, respect, and support? What can I do to help create a mixed faith marriage that's fantastic? Here's another great picture I absolutely love of me and my husband. All smiles and cuddles, right? Trust me though, when I was new in my faith transition, we were not all smiles and we were not all cuddles. Far from it. Remember going to a restaurant once and we were going to talk about the faith transition and we were going to talk about the mixed faith marriage. It was ugly. There's just no way of saying it. It was not a pretty situation. I think the waiter was really happy to see us gone because it takes work and we were willing to do the work. And if we can do it, my husband and I, you can do it too. And a lot of that work that I'm talking about here is work I do in my coaching sessions with my clients. Coaching is the tool that I have used very successfully to recognize the things I needed to stop doing and recognize the things I needed to start doing so I could have a marriage where there was connection and cuddles again, where there was respect, where there was support, and where there was love. So if you can get really clear on what to stop doing and really clear on what you need to start doing, you can turn your mixed faith marriage completely around. So I want to invite you to consider joining my group program. I coach a few times a year and only a few times a year this group coaching program I call Loving and Strengthening Your Mormon Mixed Faith Marriage. This is a really intentional name because I don't want you to just strengthen your marriage. I want you to fall in love with your marriage, with your mixed faith marriage. Now, this is a small group coaching program, and I want to tell you a little bit more about it. One is your spouse doesn't need to join, but it's wonderful if they do. Everything is absolutely confidential. This is for anyone in that you don't both need to join. If just one of you joins, that's perfect. You'll get a replay every week. But the most important part, that's just like details. The most important part is this: what you'll learn, what to expect, how you'll really grow and develop in your mixed faith marriage. You'll learn how to let go of fear of being in a mixed faith marriage. You'll learn how to have hard conversations without anger or withdrawing. You'll learn how to make decisions together that honor both partners, how to communicate directly and clearly, how to not react from your out of control emotions. You'll learn how to create emotions that help you create the relationship you really want. You'll learn how to move from the grief and pain of a faith transition into acceptance. You'll learn how to set goals to really build a better marriage. And all of this really help you create the foundation for a new marriage and help you fall in love again. These are big deals. I offer this group coaching only a few times a year, like 3 max. I do not do this very often. It's a 12-week course. We meet for 1 hour each week. Like I said earlier, you'll get a replay of that if you're not able to make the call for whatever reason. I'll tell you in a little bit about, how to get a hold of this and how to join this, but I also want to let you know this. If you join the group coaching program, you get this fantastic resource. Now, this is a big deal. This workbook is included. It is a workbook with exercises and teachings all for you to help you strengthen and love your mixed faith marriage. So let me tell you where to go to learn more about this. If you're like, yes, Brooke, I need this. I need this. Tell me what I need to do. Go to my website. Here's the information that you need. You can learn a little bit more, but you can go to this website and you can join the list. And it's really easy. Just submit your name, submit your email. In a few days, you'll receive an email from me where I give you all of the information about the program. The dates it starts, everything you need to know. If you go to this website too, you'll find out when my next group session begins and all of the information that you need. I usually only have very limited slots for these group sessions, so don't hesitate too long to sign up and grab yours. If you want, you can get on a free call with me and we can talk about it. If you're like, yeah, I have a lot of questions though, not a problem. Just go to my website and get one of my free calls and we'll talk through anything you may want to discuss before committing to joining the group. Another really easy thing you can do is email me. There's my email there below, and email me any questions you may have as well. Happy to respond to you that way, whatever works best for you. The main thing I want you to remember is that a really great mixed faith marriage is 100% possible. If my husband and I can do it, so can you. We went into this mixed faith marriage with plenty of professional degrees and plenty of church service and experience, but very little skills in actually building relationships and very little skills in actually communicating and all of the things needed to have a really healthy mixed faith marriage. We learn them, and these are the things I teach my clients now. The skills gap you need to fill, because a same faith marriage takes different skills than a mixed faith marriage. Come and join the group program and let's get started making your mixed faith marriage great. All right, wishing you the very best.